My stepmom pushed her daughter down the stairs to frame my fiancé, but the court ruled in our favor and fined her $150,000. She apologized, but it was too late. I'm 28, and I feel like my life's spiraling out of control. There's so much going on right now. I can barely keep up, but I'll start at the beginning. Maybe someone out there can help me make sense of this mess. Alright, so a few years ago, I met her. You know how people talk about love at first sight? I always thought that was BS, but then I met Mia. She's 26, smart, funny, stunning. Basically, everything I've ever wanted in a partner. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party. I remember she was standing by the bar, laughing at some joke, and her smile just lit up the whole damn room. I walked over, trying to act cool, but probably failing miserably, and struck up a conversation. Before I knew it, we were talking for hours, and everything just clicked. It felt easy, natural, like we'd known each other forever. Fast forward a couple of years, and we're talking about getting married. I popped the question last year, and she said yes, best day of my life, hands down. Or at least it should have been. That's when things started to get complicated. My adoptive mom, Evelyn, 64F, well, let's just say she's not Mia's biggest fan. Actually, scratch that. She outright hates her. Now, I'm not the type to throw the word hate around lightly, but with Evelyn, there's no better way to describe it. From the moment she met Mia, she's had it out for her. She's never said anything to her face. Evelyn's too cunning for that. But the passive-aggressive comments, the side-eye, the subtle digs, it's all there. She's been trying to undermine our relationship since day one, and I'm at my breaking point. I guess I should explain my family situation a bit more. I was adopted when I was 6. My birth parents died in a car accident, and Evelyn and my adoptive father, James, 67M, took me in. I've always been grateful to them, especially my dad. He's kind and means well, but he's, well, weak-willed, to put it bluntly. He lets Evelyn run the show and rarely stands up to her, especially when it comes to me. I think deep down, he knows she's wrong about Mia, but he won't say anything because it's just easier not to. Then there's my adoptive sister, Emma, 25F. She's 3 years younger than me, and we've always been pretty close. She's kind of stuck in the middle of all this. Emma doesn't take sides, which I get. I don't want to put her in a position where she has to choose between me and our mom. But at the same time, her silence is driving me insane. I know she has her own opinions, but she keeps them to herself, and I can't tell if she's trying to stay neutral or if she secretly agrees with Evelyn. Either way, it feels like I'm alone in this fight, and it sucks. Anyway, after Mia and I got engaged, Evelyn's attitude went from cold to downright hostile. She started nitpicking everything about Mia, her job, Mia's a graphic designer, which Evelyn apparently doesn't think is a real career, her appearance, the way she talks, the fact that she wasn't raised with proper values, whatever the hell that means. It's like she's determined to find fault with her no matter what. And when Mia's not around, Evelyn isn't shy about making her feelings known. She'll say things like, "I just don't think she's good enough for you, Liam," or, "You could do so much better." It's infuriating. But that's not even the worst part. A few months ago, Mia and I were at my parents' house for dinner. Everything was going fine, or as fine as it could be with Evelyn's constant passive-aggressive remarks, when out of nowhere, Evelyn says, "Liam, I think it's time you found out the truth about Mia." I froze. Mia froze. The whole room went dead silent. "What are you talking about?" I asked, my heart racing. I had no idea where she was going with this, but I knew it couldn't be good. Evelyn just smirked and said, "Why don't you ask her about her ex-fiancé?" Now, here's the thing. Mia had never mentioned an ex-fiancé to me. She talked about past relationships, sure, but nothing serious enough to warrant the term fiancé. I glanced at her, and she looked like she'd just seen a ghost. "Mia?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She didn't say anything for a moment, just stared at Evelyn like she was trying to decide whether to run or fight. Then, finally, she spoke. "Yes, I was engaged before," she admitted, her voice shaky. "But it ended years ago. It's not something I talk about because it was a toxic relationship, and I don't want to dredge up old trauma." I was stunned. Not because she'd been engaged before. I mean, we all have a past. but because she'd kept it from me. Why hadn't she told me? We'd been together for years, planning a life together, and she'd never once mentioned it. Before I could say anything, Evelyn jumped in with, "She didn't tell you because she didn't want you to know why the engagement ended." Now I was starting to feel sick. "What are you talking about?" I asked again, dreading the answer. Evelyn smiled that cold, cruel smile of hers and said, "Her ex-fiancé didn't leave her. She left him. And not for any noble reason. She was cheating on him." My heart sank. I looked at Mia, waiting for her to deny it, to tell me it was all a lie. But she didn't. She just sat there, looking like she was about to cry. "That's not the whole story," Mia whispered. But by then, it didn't matter. The damage was done. I couldn't even look at her. I left the house that night without saying a word, and Mia followed me, begging me to listen, to let her explain. She swore that she wasn't the person Evelyn was making her out to be, that her ex-fiancé was abusive, and she only cheated as a way to escape the relationship. But how was I supposed to believe her? She kept something huge from me for years, and now I didn't know if I could trust her. To make matters worse, Evelyn's been gloating ever since, acting like she's won some twisted game. She'll call me up and say things like, "I'm just looking out for you, Liam. You deserve better." It's maddening. I feel like I'm being pulled in a million different directions, trying to figure out if Mia's telling the truth, dealing with Evelyn's manipulations, and trying not to lose my mind in the process. And then, to top it all off, there was the incident at our engagement party. We had it planned for months, a small gathering with close friends and family, nothing too extravagant. But of course, Evelyn couldn't let it go smoothly. Everything was fine at first. People were mingling, drinking, and congratulating us. Mia looked beautiful, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like maybe we could get through this. That was until Evelyn decided to give a toast. She stood up, glass in hand, and started with, "I just want to say how happy I am that my son has found someone he loves. I should have known something was coming, but I was trying to be optimistic." Then she continued, "Even if she hasn't always been honest with him." There it was. Right in front of everyone, Evelyn took the opportunity to air our dirty laundry. People started whispering, and I could feel the heat rising in my face. Mia was standing next to me, gripping my arm so tightly it hurt. "And I just hope," Evelyn went on, "that Liam can see through her lies before it's too late." That was it. I snapped. I stood up, slammed my glass down on the table, and yelled, "Enough!" Everyone went silent. "If you can't support us, then don't come to the wedding. In fact, don't come near us at all." Evelyn just stared at me, shocked, while my dad looked like he wanted to disappear. Emma sat there, eyes wide, but said nothing. Mia and I left the party early, and I haven't spoken to Evelyn since. I don't know what to do. I love Mia, but this whole situation has shaken me to my core. I keep wondering if there's more she hasn't told me, or if Evelyn's right, and I'm just being blind to the truth. But at the same time, I can't let Evelyn control my life anymore. I'm torn, and I don't know how to move forward from here. After the engagement party disaster, I couldn't handle being around anyone, not even Mia. I needed space to think, to figure out what the hell I was doing with my life. I took a few days off work and stayed at my best friend Noah's place. Noah's been my closest friend since college. We met freshman year and hit it off right away. He's the kind of guy who always knows what to say, the one who's got his life together, or at least seems like it. He's married to a great woman, Charlotte, and they just had their first kid a few months ago. Basically, he's the opposite of the mess I've become. I showed up at Noah's door with nothing but a duffel bag and a defeated look on my face. He didn't ask any questions, just let me in and gave me a beer. I spent the first night on his couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my head. Mia's confession about her ex, Evelyn's endless manipulations, the engagement party. It was all too much. The next morning, Noah and I finally sat down to talk. He asked me to tell him everything, and I did. I told him about Mia's past, about Evelyn's accusations, about the engagement party, and how I had stormed out. I laid it all out, not holding anything back, hoping he'd have some magic words of wisdom to fix everything. When I finished, Noah just sat there for a minute, thinking. Then he said, "Liam, man, you're in a tough spot. But honestly, I think the real issue here isn't Mia or your mom. It's you. You're caught in the middle, and you're so torn between them that you can't see straight. You need to get your head right before you can figure out what to do. I was taken aback. I mean, I knew I was a mess, but hearing it from someone else stung. What the hell am I supposed to do then? I asked, frustrated. It's not like I can just snap my fingers and make everything make sense. Noah nodded. I know. That's why I think you should talk to someone. A professional, I mean, like a therapist. I'm not saying you're crazy or anything, but it sounds like you've got a lot of unresolved stuff going on. With Mia, with your family, with your past. Talking it through with someone who knows how to help might give you some clarity. I'll be honest, the idea of seeing a therapist wasn't something I'd ever really considered. But Noah's right. I've got baggage. Losing my birth parents when I was so young, being raised by Evelyn and James, dealing with Evelyn's controlling nature for years, it's all shaped who I am, and maybe not in the best ways. And now, with Mia's past being thrown in my face, I realized I'd been holding on to more resentment and confusion than I even knew. Still, I wasn't sure. Therapy? I asked, raising an eyebrow. You think that's really going to help me figure all this out? Noah shrugged. It helped me. Remember when Charlotte and I went through that rough patch last year? We did some couples therapy, and it made a world of difference. Sometimes, you just need an outside perspective. He had a point. If therapy could help Noah, maybe it could help me too. I decided to give it a shot. What did I have to lose at this point, anyway? So, I found a therapist. Her name's Dr. Jenna Carlisle, and from the moment I walked into her office, I knew I was in the right place. She's calm, collected, and doesn't judge. Exactly what I needed. The first session was mostly me explaining everything that had happened with Mia and my family, which took up most of the hour. But Dr. Carlisle didn't interrupt or push me. She just listened, which was more than I'd gotten from anyone else lately. After a few sessions, things started to come into focus. One of the first things Dr. Carlisle pointed out was that I've been living my life trying to please other people, mainly Evelyn. She made me realize that, for as long as I can remember, I've been seeking my mom's approval, even if it meant sacrificing my own happiness. And now, with Mia, I was doing the same thing. Torn between loving her and needing Evelyn's approval of our relationship, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I'd been letting Evelyn control my life without even realizing it. And the worst part? I didn't want to lose Mia because of it. That's when I decided to try again. I wanted Mia back. I needed to know if we could make it work, even with all the baggage and the lies. Dr. Carlisle helped me see that while Mia should have been honest with me from the beginning, everyone has a past, and sometimes we do things we're not proud of. The important thing is whether we can move forward, and I realized I wanted to try. After weeks of therapy, I felt like I was finally ready to talk to Mia. I'd been staying at Noah's place for nearly a month, and during that time, Mia had reached out a few times, but I hadn't responded. I wasn't ready yet. But now, after working through everything with Dr. Carlisle, I knew I had to face her. So, I called her. When Mia answered, I could hear the surprise in her voice. Liam? Is that you? She asked, like she couldn't believe I'd finally reached out. Yeah, it's me, I said, feeling a little nervous. Can we talk? In person, I mean. She agreed, and we met at a park near her apartment. When I saw her sitting on the bench, looking down at her hands, I felt a wave of emotion hit me. I missed her. God, I missed her. But I also knew that we had a lot to work through. I sat down next to her, and for a few minutes, neither of us said anything. Finally, Mia broke the silence. I'm sorry, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. For everything. I should have told you about my past. I should have been honest from the start. I didn't know how. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. I know, I said, and I get why you didn't. But keeping something like that from me, it hurt, Mia. I thought we were building a life together, and then suddenly, it felt like there was this huge part of you I didn't know. She nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. I know, and I hate that I made you feel like that. I was scared. My ex, he was abusive, controlling. I stayed with him longer than I should have because I didn't know how to leave. And yeah, I cheated on him, but it wasn't because I didn't love him. I was desperate to get out. I'm not proud of it, but it's the truth. Hearing her say that, it was tough. I didn't like the idea of her being with someone else, even if it was in the past. But at the same time, I knew I had my own issues. We both did. And if we were going to make this work, we had to be honest with each other from now on. I've been seeing a therapist, I said, surprising her. She's been helping me work through a lot of stuff. About my family, about us. And I realized that I've been letting my mom control me for way too long. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be with you, Mia, but I need to know that we can be honest with each other. No more secrets. Mia wiped away a tear and nodded. No more secrets, she agreed. I want to make this work too, Liam. I love you. I always have. It wasn't easy, but over the next few weeks, Mia and I started to rebuild our relationship. We had long, honest conversations about everything. Her past, my issues with Evelyn, our plans for the future. It wasn't always pretty, but it felt real, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were on solid ground. Just when I thought things were finally looking up, life threw another curveball. Shocking, right? I should have seen it coming by now. It started with a phone call from Emma, my adoptive sister. She's been pretty quiet throughout this whole ordeal, but lately, she'd been acting weird, like she was holding something back. When she called me out of the blue one night, I knew something was up. Liam, we need to talk, she said, her voice tense. What's going on? I asked, feeling a knot form in my stomach. It's about Mom, she said. I've been keeping something from you, and I can't keep it to myself anymore. Turns out, Evelyn had been doing more than just trying to sabotage my relationship with Mia. Emma told me that Evelyn had been digging into Mia's past for months, hiring a private investigator to find dirt on her. That's how she found out about Mia's ex-fiancé in the first place. But it didn't stop there. Emma said that Evelyn had been planning to go even further, to spread rumors about Mia, to make sure she was blacklisted from her industry, to destroy her reputation completely, all because she didn't think Mia was good enough for me. I was speechless. I knew Evelyn was manipulative, but this was psychotic. I couldn't let her go through with it, Emma said. I've been trying to stall her, to keep her from doing anything too drastic, but she's not going to stop unless you confront her. You need to talk to her, Liam, before it's too late. I hung up the phone, my mind racing. I couldn't believe it. Evelyn had been so focused on tearing Mia down that she was willing to ruin her life completely. And here I thought things were starting to get better. I don't know what my next move is, but I'm done letting Evelyn control me. It's time to take a stand, once and for all. So, after months of therapy, conversations, and trying to rebuild trust with Mia, we decided to move forward with the wedding. I know some people might think I'm crazy for going through with it, but at the end of the day, I love Mia, and I believe in us. We've been through so much, and I didn't want Evelyn's manipulation to destroy the one good thing I have in my life. We agreed that the best thing for our relationship and our sanity was to cut Evelyn out, at least for the time being. But of course, things didn't go as smoothly as we'd hoped. We decided to have a small, intimate ceremony at a beautiful lakeside venue just outside of town. Only our closest friends and family were invited. That meant Noah, of course, and his wife Charlotte. Mia's best friend Arya was her maid of honor, and my best man was my cousin Henry. Henry's a great guy, the kind of person who can lighten up any situation, and I really needed his support for what was supposed to be the best day of my life. Noticeably absent from the guest list? Evelyn, of course, and my adoptive sister, Emma. After Emma's confession that Evelyn had been planning to ruin Mia's career and reputation, I realized I couldn't trust either of them. Emma might not have been directly involved, but she didn't do anything to stop it either. She tried to play both sides, and I couldn't take that risk anymore. I told them both that they weren't welcome at the wedding, and to say Evelyn didn't take it well would be an understatement. When I called her to tell her the news, she was livid. She tried to guilt-trip me, saying things like, "I raised you, Liam. How could you exclude your own mother from your wedding?" But I didn't budge. I told her that her behavior had left me no choice, and that until she could respect my relationship with Mia, she wasn't welcome in our lives. Evelyn screamed and cried, but I hung up the phone before she could get too far. It wasn't easy, but I knew it was the right thing to do. For a few weeks, it seemed like she might actually respect our decision. We didn't hear anything from her, and I started to believe that maybe, just maybe, we could have a peaceful wedding without any drama. How naive I was. The day of the wedding finally arrived, and everything was perfect, at least at first. The weather was gorgeous, the venue looked incredible, and Mia was stunning in her dress. We'd rented out a small gazebo by the lake for the ceremony, and there was a clear, cloudless sky overhead. For the first time in a long time, I felt like things were finally going right. The ceremony went off without a hitch. Mia walked down the aisle, and I swear I could hardly breathe when I saw her. We said our vows, exchanged rings, and when the officiant pronounced us husband and wife, I thought, asterisk, this is it. We made it. Asterisk. But, of course, the universe wasn't about to let us have our happy ending so easily. The reception was being held just a few yards away from the gazebo, under a large, open-sided tent with fairy lights strung across the top. We'd chosen to keep things low-key, a buffet of our favorite foods, music, and dancing. Everything was perfect for the first hour or so. Mia and I danced our first dance, cut the cake, and started mingling with our guests. I was actually starting to relax for the first time in months. And then, I saw them. Out of the corner of my eye, I noticed a figure walking toward the tent. At first, I didn't believe it. I thought I was seeing things. But as they got closer, my stomach dropped. It was Evelyn, and she wasn't alone. Emma was with her. I turned to Mia, who was talking to Arya, and she noticed the change in my expression right away. "What's wrong?" she asked, following my gaze. When she saw Evelyn and Emma walking toward us, her face went pale. "They weren't invited," Mia whispered, panic creeping into her voice. "What are they doing here?" I had no idea, but I wasn't about to let them ruin our day. I marched over to them before they could reach the tent, determined to stop this disaster before it started. "What the hell are you doing here?" I demanded, keeping my voice low but firm. "You weren't invited." Evelyn gave me one of her signature icy smiles, completely unfazed by my anger. "Oh, come now, Liam. Did you really think I'd miss my son's wedding? I'm your mother. You can't just cut me out of your life." "This isn't the time or the place, Evelyn," I snapped. "You need to leave. Now." Before she could respond, Emma stepped forward. "Liam, we just wanted to be here for you. Please don't make a scene. We'll stay in the back. We won't cause any trouble." I wanted to believe her, but after everything that had happened, I couldn't trust a word they said. "This isn't up for debate. You need to go." That's when Evelyn's smile faded, and her expression darkened. "We're not leaving, Liam. We're family, whether you like it or not." I was about to lose it when Noah appeared at my side, sensing the tension. "Everything okay here?" he asked, his eyes flicking between me, Evelyn, and Emma. "Not really," I muttered. "They need to leave." Noah crossed his arms and stepped forward, positioning himself between me and Evelyn. "You heard the groom. This is his wedding, and you weren't invited. You need to go." For a moment, I thought they might actually listen. Emma looked nervous, like she wanted to leave, but Evelyn wasn't having it. "Fine," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "We'll go. But don't think this is over, Liam. You'll regret shutting us out." With that, she turned on her heel and started walking toward the parking lot, Emma trailing behind her. I thought that was the end of it. I really did. An hour later, the reception was in full swing, and Mia and I were finally starting to enjoy ourselves again. We were sitting at a table, chatting with Noah and Charlotte, when I heard a commotion near the drinks table. At first, I thought it was just some rowdy guests getting a little too enthusiastic with the open bar. But then I saw Emma, limping, holding her leg, and Evelyn screaming at the top of her lungs. "She pushed her." Evelyn shrieked, pointing directly at Mia. "She pushed my daughter." I rushed over, Mia right behind me, my heart pounding in my chest. Emma was sitting on the ground, clutching her leg, which was twisted at an awkward angle. She was crying, and Evelyn was making a scene, screaming for someone to call an ambulance. "What happened?" I asked, looking between Mia, Evelyn, and Emma. "She pushed me," Emma whimpered through her tears. "Mia." "She shoved me, and I fell." I turned to Mia, completely stunned. "Is that true?" "No," Mia shouted, her face flushed with anger and disbelief. "I didn't push her." "She's lying, Liam. You know I wouldn't do that." But Evelyn wasn't letting up. "I saw it with my own eyes." She pushed her. "Call the police." Before I could say anything, someone had already called 911, and within minutes, both the police and an ambulance had arrived. It was chaos. The paramedics started treating Emma, who was claiming she couldn't walk, while the police asked Mia and me to explain what had happened. I didn't know what to believe. Mia swore she didn't touch Emma, but Emma was on the ground, injured, and Evelyn was screaming for Mia to be arrested. The whole thing felt surreal. Mia kept insisting that she hadn't done anything, that Evelyn was trying to frame her, but the police had no choice but to take statements from everyone involved. Meanwhile, Emma was taken to the hospital with what looked like a broken leg, and Evelyn followed the ambulance, leaving the wedding in complete disarray. It wasn't until the next day that things started to make sense. One of our guests, Aria, had been filming parts of the wedding on her phone, just casual videos of the reception, nothing too serious. But when she realized she might have caught the incident on camera, she immediately sent the footage to me. What I saw in that video was shocking. The footage showed Emma standing by the drinks table, talking to some other guests. Mia was nowhere near her. Then, out of nowhere, Evelyn approached Emma from behind and gave her a hard shove. Emma stumbled forward and fell to the ground, twisting her leg in the process. Evelyn had pushed her own daughter. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Evelyn had deliberately hurt Emma just to make it look like Mia had done it. She planned the whole thing, from crashing the wedding to creating this fake incident to get Mia in trouble with the law. I immediately sent the video to the police, and they launched an investigation. When they confronted Emma with the evidence, she broke down and admitted everything. She told them that Evelyn had pressured her into going along with the plan, convincing her that it was the only way to stop me from marrying Mia. Emma said she hadn't wanted to do it, but she was too scared to stand up to Evelyn. The police didn't press charges against Mia, but Evelyn? She's now facing charges for filing a false police report and assaulting her own daughter. Emma's still recovering from her injury, and she's cut contact with Evelyn entirely. I never thought things would get this bad, but here we are. After we got the video footage proving Evelyn had pushed Emma to make it look like Mia assaulted her, we thought the worst was over. Evelyn was facing charges for assaulting her own daughter and for filing a false police report, but we still couldn't shake the damage she'd done to Mia's reputation. You see, even though the criminal charges against Mia were dropped, the rumors Evelyn had started months before about Mia's past, her supposed dishonesty, were still circulating in the industry where Mia worked. Mia's job as a graphic designer meant that her reputation was everything, and Evelyn had done serious damage by spreading lies about her, even before the wedding fiasco. Clients were dropping Mia left and right, and she was having a hard time finding new work. On top of that, the stress and emotional trauma of nearly being arrested at our own wedding had left Mia struggling with anxiety. I couldn't just sit back and watch her suffer. That's when I made the decision. We were going to sue Evelyn. I knew it wasn't going to be easy. Taking your own mother to court is pretty much the last thing anyone wants to do, but Evelyn had crossed so many lines that I felt like we had no choice. Mia was hesitant at first. She's not the kind of person who likes conflict, and the thought of a long, drawn-out legal battle was the last thing she wanted. But when I sat down with her and explained that we needed to fight back, not just for her reputation, but for her peace of mind, she agreed. We decided to file a civil suit against Evelyn for defamation and emotional distress. Mia had lost significant income because of the rumors Evelyn spread, and she'd suffered real psychological harm from the ordeal. We consulted a lawyer named David Franklin, who specialized in defamation cases, and he agreed that we had a strong case. David walked us through the process, explaining that in order to win a defamation suit, we'd need to prove 4 key things: that Evelyn made false statements about Mia, that those statements were harmful, that they were made with malice, meaning Evelyn knew they were false or acted with reckless disregard for the truth, and that Mia suffered damages as a result. Luckily, or unluckily, depending on how you look at it, we had all the evidence we needed. Between Emma's testimony, the video of Evelyn pushing her, and the clients who had dropped Mia after hearing the rumors, we had a solid foundation for our case. The court date was set for a few months later. As the date approached, things got tense. Evelyn, of course, refused to settle out of court. She was still trying to play the victim, claiming that she was just trying to protect her son and that she'd done nothing wrong. But we knew the truth, and we were determined to prove it. When the day finally came, the courtroom was packed. I remember walking in with Mia, my heart pounding in my chest. David was by our side, looking calm and confident, but I could tell Mia was nervous. I gave her hand a squeeze as we sat down at our table, hoping to give her some reassurance. Evelyn was already there, sitting with her own lawyer, a sharp, middle-aged woman named Brenda Turner. I'd never seen Evelyn look so composed. She had a look on her face that said she was ready for battle, and I knew she wasn't going to make this easy. The trial began with opening statements. David laid out our case clearly, explaining how Evelyn had deliberately spread false and damaging rumors about Mia, how she had manipulated her own daughter to try to frame Mia for a crime, and how Mia had suffered both financially and emotionally as a result. He didn't pull any punches, and by the time he was finished, I felt a surge of confidence that we were going to win. Then it was Evelyn's lawyer's turn. Brenda tried to paint a picture of Evelyn as a concerned mother who had simply made a few mistakes in her attempts to protect her son. She claimed that Evelyn's actions were not malicious, but misguided, and that she had never intended to harm Mia. It was a weak defense, but I could see that they were trying to appeal to the jury's emotions, hoping they'd feel sympathy for a mother who was just trying to look out for her son. Next came the witnesses. Emma was the first to testify, and I could tell she was nervous as she took the stand. She distanced herself from Evelyn ever since the wedding, but I knew this was hard for her. Still, she told the truth. She described how Evelyn had pressured her to go along with the plan to frame Mia, and how she had been too scared to stand up to her mother. Emma broke down in tears at one point, admitting that she regretted not stopping Evelyn sooner. Her testimony was damning, and I could see the cracks forming in Evelyn's composure. After Emma, it was Mia's turn. She took the stand with a quiet strength that made me so proud of her. She described how the rumors had affected her career, how clients had dropped her without explanation, and how she had struggled with anxiety and panic attacks ever since the wedding. David asked her to talk about the emotional toll Evelyn's actions had taken on her, and Mia was honest, even though I knew it was hard for her to open up about such personal things in front of a courtroom full of people. Then came the moment that changed everything. David presented the video footage of Evelyn pushing Emma at the wedding. The courtroom went dead silent as the video played, and when it ended, there was no denying what had happened. Evelyn had deliberately hurt her own daughter to make it look like Mia was the one at fault. You could feel the shift in the room. Whatever sympathy Evelyn might have had from the jury evaporated in that moment. After a few more days of testimony and cross-examination, it was time for closing arguments. David hammered home the point that Evelyn's actions weren't just mistakes. They were malicious and calculated. He reminded the jury of the video, of Emma's testimony, and of the damage Mia had suffered because of Evelyn's lies. Brenda, on the other hand, tried to downplay Evelyn's actions, insisting that while they may have been misguided, they didn't warrant a lawsuit. The jury deliberated for what felt like an eternity, but in reality, it was only a few hours. When they finally returned, the verdict was in our favor. They found Evelyn liable for defamation and intentional infliction of emotional distress, and they awarded Mia $150,000 in damages. It wasn't a life-changing sum of money, but it was enough to cover the income Mia had lost and to help her move forward. But the most shocking moment of all came after the verdict was read. As we were gathering our things to leave, Evelyn stood up in the courtroom and asked to speak. Everyone froze. Even Brenda looked confused, clearly not expecting this. Evelyn walked to the center of the room, her hands shaking, and for the first time, she looked genuinely defeated. "I need to say something," she said, her voice trembling. "I did it. I pushed Emma. I spread the rumors. I did all of it." The room was silent as Evelyn confessed. She admitted that she had lied, manipulated, and tried to destroy Mia's reputation, all because she didn't want to lose control over me. She said she had always been afraid that if I married Mia, I would stop needing her, and she couldn't handle that. Tears streamed down her face as she apologized, not just to Mia, but to me, to Emma, and to everyone else she had hurt. It was surreal. I had never seen Evelyn so vulnerable, so broken. Part of me felt sorry for her, but I knew it was too little, too late. The damage had been done, and there was no way to undo it. After the trial, Mia and I tried to pick up the pieces of our lives. The court case had taken its toll on both of us, but in the end, it felt like a weight had been lifted. Mia started to rebuild her career, and slowly but surely, clients began to come back. The compensation helped, but more than that, it gave us closure. As for Evelyn, she's still facing criminal charges for the assault on Emma, and I don't know what the future holds for her. We've cut all contact, and I don't think I'll ever be able to have a relationship with her again. As painful as that is, I know it's the right decision. Emma and I are on better terms now. She's still working through her own issues with Evelyn, but she's apologized for her role in everything, and I believe she's sincere. We're not as close as we used to be, but maybe, with time, that will change. Subscribe to hear new interesting stories that come out every day.